We didn't kiss that night, even though the distance between us was only a few centimeters. Even though I could feel Thatcher's breath brushing lightly against my lips. Even though my heart was pounding so hard it almost hurt. We still stopped. Neither of us said a word. Neither of us moved. In the end, Thatcher was the one who pulled back first. "Let's get out of the water," he said, his voice low. I nodded. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. But inside, there was a strange emptiness. As if I had almost touched something very important, and then let it slip through my fingers. In the days that followed, everything became tense. Not the kind of tension from the beginning, but the kind where every glance, every touch carried a meaning that both of us pretended not to notice. Thatcher still taught me. He still stayed in the water with me, but he was more careful. He kept more distance. There were no more moments when we were too close. No more lingering eye contact. And that unsettled me. "Why are you avoiding me?" I asked one day when only the two of us were left. He didn't look at me. "I'm not avoiding you. You are. Conrad. You are," I repeated, stepping closer. "And you know it." Thatcher clenched his jaw. "I'm just trying to keep things clear." "Clear about what?" "Boundaries." I let out a soft laugh. "We've already crossed them." He turned to look at me. His gaze sharpened. "Not yet." "Are you sure?" Silence. I took another step. "Then what was that night?" "Nothing." "You don't believe that." "It doesn't matter whether I believe it or not." I clenched my fists. "Then what does matter?" "The team," he answered immediately. "My future." "And what about me?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. The air froze. Thatcher looked at me. This time he didn't avoid my eyes. "You're a problem," he said. I froze. "A problem?" "Yeah." "Great." I laughed bitterly. "Thanks. That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" He stepped closer. Faster than before. Stronger. "I can't focus when you're here," he said, his voice low but strained. "I can't stop thinking about you." My heart pounded. "Then don't stop." He stiffened. "You don't understand." "Explain it to me." "Not now." "Why is it never the right time?" I said, frustrated. "You always stop right when things start to feel real. Because it's dangerous." "Dangerous for who?" "For both of us." I shook my head. "You're scared." He gave a faint, bitter laugh. "I'm not scared." "You're scared of losing control." That sentence hit the mark. I saw it clearly in his eyes. Just for a second. But it was enough. "I don't need to control everything," I said softly. "Not all the time. You don't understand the pressure I'm under." "Then help me understand." Thatcher stayed silent. Then he turned away. "I can't," he said. A simple answer. But it felt like a wall. I stood there, saying nothing more, only feeling disappointed. Not because he didn't like me, but because he wouldn't give me a chance. That day's practice ended early. Neither of us said another word. I left the pool first. I didn't look back. That evening, I walked alone around the school grounds. The wind was cold, but it wasn't enough to ease the feeling in my chest. I didn't know what I was doing, or where I was going. I only knew I didn't want to go back to my room. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to remember the look in Thatcher's eyes when he said, "I can't." "Conrad." I stopped, turned around, and of course, it was him. Thatcher stood a few steps away, breathing a little hard, as if he had been running. "Why are you here?" I asked. "You left," he answered. "So?" "I didn't like the way you left." I laughed. "You really don't know what you're saying." "Then explain it to me." "No." I turned to leave, but before I could take a step, my hand was pulled back, hard. "I'm not done," Thatcher said. I turned around. "Let go." He didn't. "No." "Thatcher." "I can't," he repeated. "But that doesn't mean I don't want to." My heart stuttered. "What?" He looked at me, straight. "No avoidance." "I want you," he said. "No circling. No ambiguity. Just the truth. Raw, clear, and dangerous." The air between us exploded. I want you too, I admitted, my voice quieter. 1 second of silence. Then Thatcher pulled me closer. This time he didn't stop. His lips met mine. The kiss wasn't gentle. It wasn't slow. It was pent up, as if everything we had been holding back all this time finally broke free. I grabbed his shirt, pulled him closer. I didn't want distance. I didn't want reason. I only wanted him. Thatcher held me tight, as if he was afraid I would disappear, as if he had been fighting this for far too long. The kiss deepened, grew stronger, but it wasn't rough. It was just real, too real. When we finally pulled apart, both of us were breathing hard, foreheads touching. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to, because everything was already too clear. What did we just do? I whispered. Something we should have done a long time ago, Thatcher replied. I smiled faintly. You say that like it was a good idea. It wasn't. Then why did you still do it? He looked at me for a long time, then said, because I couldn't stop myself. My heart fluttered. I don't want you to stop. A moment of silence. But this time, there was no fear, only truth.
But
And irreversible. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning, and nothing would be easy. After that kiss, there was no going back. Not the kind where we'll pretend it never happened. Not the kind where it was just a mistake. No, we both knew clearly it was a choice, and we had made it. But that choice came with a price. The next day, when I stepped into the pool area, I immediately felt the difference. It wasn't from the team. No one knew. Everything on the surface was still normal. But between me and Thatcher, there was an electric tension. Every glance lasted 1 beat too long. Every accidental touch made my heart skip. And the worst part? We had to pretend nothing was happening. Conrad, the schedule. Yeah. Where's the towel? Here. Short, curt, cold conversations. But beneath the surface, there was an undercurrent. That day's practice ended without incident. But right as everyone started to leave, I felt that familiar gaze. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Stay, Thatcher said quietly as he walked past me. He didn't look. He didn't stop. Just loud enough for me to hear. My heart raced. 10 minutes later, the pool area was empty. Only the sound of dripping water remained. And us. I stood at the edge of the pool, not knowing what to say, not knowing where to begin. Thatcher walked over slowly, deliberate, but without hesitation. We need to talk, he said. I know. A stretch of silence. About last night, I started. It wasn't a mistake, he cut in. I looked at him. Are you sure? Yes. No hesitation at all. My heart fluttered. So what are we? The question made him pause. For the first time. I don't know, he admitted. Thatcher. I've never been in this situation before, he continued. I don't know what to call it.
Ido.
He looked at me. What? I like you.
No circling. No avoidance.
Just the truth. Thatcher stayed silent. Longer than I wanted. You don't like me? I asked, my voice softer. I didn't say that. Then say it. He exhaled. I care about you. I smiled bitterly. That sounds like what people say when they don't want to admit it. Conrad, you kissed me. I know. So don't give me half-hearted answers. The air grew tense. Thatcher looked at me, his gaze deep, complicated. I like you, he said at last. My heart stuttered. But I can't let it affect everything else. Why? Because I have goals, he answered. Scholarship, competitions, my future. I'm not an obstacle. I didn't say you were, but you're acting like it. Silence. You're afraid of losing focus, I said. He didn't deny it. I'm not asking you to give up anything, I continued. I just want to be with you. That sentence made everything clearer than ever. No more hiding, no more circling, only choice. Thatcher stepped closer. You don't understand, he said softly. If I start this, I won't do it halfway. My heart pounded. Then don't do it halfway. He smiled faintly. Not happy. Not sad. Just helpless. You make everything so difficult. I'm not sorry for that. A moment of silence. Then, okay, Thatcher said. I blinked. Okay, we'll try. My heart seemed to stop. Really? He nodded. But there are conditions. I figured. It doesn't affect the team.
Fine.
No one finds out. I hesitated. But then, okay. And he paused, looking at me. You're not allowed to quit training. I let out a light laugh. Are you serious? Very serious. All right, I promise. A stretch of silence. But this time, it wasn't tense. It was relief. We had chosen. Again. But this time, consciously. So what now? I asked. Thatcher looked at me, his eyes softer. Now, he said. We continue. Continue what? He stepped closer. Very close. What we started. My heart raced. Here. He smirked. Are you scared? I smiled.
No.
This time, I wasn't lying. I wasn't afraid of the water. And I wasn't afraid of him. Not anymore. This kiss was different from the last. Not rushed. Not desperate. It was slow. Deep. As if we were learning how to feel each other. Little by little. I placed my hands on his shoulders. He pulled me closer. The water behind us rippled gently. But I didn't notice. I didn't care. Because for the first time, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. And this time, I wasn't afraid of falling. Because I knew, if I did, he would be there. But neither of us knew. The real storm hadn't even begun. In the days that followed, everything became a fragile balance. During the day, we were captain and assistant. We kept our distance. We spoke normally.
No lingering glances. No unnecessary touches.
Perfect. No one suspected anything. But at night, or in the rare moments when only the two of us were left, everything was completely different. Thatcher no longer kept his distance. He pulled me close, touched me as if it was never enough, as if he had been holding back too much during the day. And I wasn't any better. I started getting used to having him, used to waiting for his messages, used to being hugged from behind when no one was watching, used to not being alone anymore. But just when everything seemed the most stable, that was when it started to crack. Thatcher, the coach called loudly from the far end of the pool. I need you to focus more. The regional competition is only 3 weeks away. I know, he replied, his tone sharper than usual. I stood at the edge of the pool, taking notes. But I couldn't help noticing. Thatcher was off rhythm. Just slightly. But for him, that was rare. Again, the coach said. He turned his head. Our eyes met. Just for a second. But I saw it clearly. The distraction. And I knew. Part of it was because of me. Practice ended in a heavy atmosphere. No one talked much. Thatcher left the pool earlier than usual. I hesitated. Then followed him. I found him in the locker room, sitting alone, head lowered. Are you okay? I asked. He didn't answer right away. I already told you, he finally spoke. Don't let this affect anything. I didn't. But it is affecting, he cut in. I froze. You think this is my fault? I didn't say that. But you're blaming me. Thatcher stood up. If I lose focus, I'll lose my scholarship. I understand. No, you don't, he said, his voice rising. This isn't just a sport. This is my only path. I stayed silent. I don't have a backup plan, he continued. If I fail, I have nothing. You have me. The words slipped out before I could think. And the moment they fell, I knew I had made a mistake. Thatcher stiffened. Don't, he said. Don't what? Don't make it like that. Like what? Like you can replace everything else. I clenched my fists. I didn't say that. But that's what you're doing.
No.
Silence. Heavy. I just don't want you to push me away, I said quietly. I'm not pushing you away. You are. Conrad. Why does it always have to be either me or the team? I cut in. Why can't it be both? Thatcher didn't answer, and that silence was the clearest answer of all. I left first. I didn't look back. I didn't want to hear any more. That night, I didn't receive any messages from him. No, are you back yet? No, good night. Nothing. Just silence. And this time, it hurt more than I expected. In the following days, we went back to how things were before. Not before we kissed, but before everything became real. We spoke when necessary. No more, no less. No one mentioned what had happened. No one mentioned feelings, as if we were trying to erase it. But I couldn't. Every time I watched him swim, I remembered the way he looked at me. Every time he walked past, I remembered the feeling of his hands on my skin. And the worst part, every time he didn't look at me, I felt empty. 1 week before the competition, everything reached its peak. I was standing and timing as usual. Thatcher finished a lap. Fast. Precise. Perfect. The coach nodded. That's more like it. Thatcher climbed out. His gaze swept over me. It didn't stop. No expression. And for some reason, that hurt more than when he was angry. Practice ended. Everyone left. I stayed. Not to clean up, but to wait. And just as I thought, Thatcher came back. We need to talk, I said first. He exhaled. I don't think. You think we can keep going on like this forever? Silence. I can't, I said. I can't pretend nothing happened. I'm trying to protect both of us. By making me disappear? He frowned. You're not disappearing. In your life I am. That sentence made him pause. It's only temporary, he said. Until when? After the competition. I smiled bitterly. So I'm just a break between races? That's not it. It sure sounds like it. Thatcher clenched his jaw. I need to focus. And what about me? I already told you. You always tell me. I cut in. But you never actually choose. Silence. This time, it stretched longer. So what do you want me to do? He asked. I want you to be honest, I replied. If I matter, then say it. If I don't, then say that too. The air felt like lead. Thatcher looked at me for a long time. Then, you matter. My heart fluttered. But not enough, I said. He didn't answer. And that was the answer. I nodded lightly. I understood. Good luck in the competition, I said. Then I turned and walked away. This time, I didn't stop. And for the first time since meeting Thatcher, I didn't look back. I didn't return to the pool for 3 days. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to. Just the thought of standing there, seeing Thatcher, hearing his voice, feeling the cold distance between us, was enough to make my chest feel heavy. I told the coach I was sick. He didn't ask much, probably because I was only the assistant, easy to replace, easy to disappear. But what I didn't expect was that Thatcher would be the one to come find me. I was sitting alone on the steps in front of the dorm when he appeared. No warning, no message. He just stood there, as if he had always known I would be here. Have you hidden enough? He asked. I didn't look at him. I'm not hiding. You disappeared for 3 days. I needed a break. Not this kind of break. I exhaled. What did you come here to say? Silence. It was rare for Thatcher to hesitate, but this time he did. I'm competing tomorrow, he said. I know. You're not coming? I smiled bitterly. I thought you didn't need me. That sentence made him clench his fists. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You made it very clear. A long silence stretched out. A light wind blew past, carrying the early season chill. I was wrong, Thatcher said. I froze. Not because of the words, but because of the way he said them.
No defensiveness. No excuses.
Just admission. I turned to look at him. What did you just say? I was wrong, he repeated. My heart fluttered. I thought, if I pushed you away a little, I could focus better. He smiled bitterly. But it didn't work. I stayed silent. I still think about you, he continued. While swimming, while training, in everything. This time his eyes no longer avoided mine. And when you're not there, he paused. Everything is even worse. I swallowed. Then why didn't you say it sooner? I thought I could control it. Of course, I said softly. You always think that. He didn't argue. But I can't, he admitted. At least, not with you. The air between us grew quiet. But not heavy. It was honest. I don't want to be second choice, I said. I know. I don't want to wait until after the competition to exist in your life. I know. So what are you going to do? That question was the line. Once again. But this time, Thatcher didn't avoid it. He stepped closer. Not fast, but certain. Come watch me compete tomorrow, he said. I frowned. That's not an answer. It's part of it. And the rest. He looked at me. Deep, clear. After the competition, I won't hide anymore. My heart pounded. You mean that? Yeah. Why should I believe you? Fair question. After everything. Thatcher didn't answer right away. Instead, he did something I didn't expect. He took my hand. Right there in the middle of the dorm area. Not caring who might see. Because this time, he said, his voice low but firm. I'm choosing you. My heart seemed to stop. Not because of the words, but because of the way he said them.
No hesitación.
No conditions. Just choice. What about the competition? I asked softly. I'll still compete, he answered. But not by losing you. A small smile crossed my lips. Are you sure? No, he admitted. But I'll try. I looked at him. For a long time. Searching for any trace of lies. But there was none. Only Thatcher. Real. And not perfect. Okay, I said. Just one word. But it was enough. He gently squeezed my hand. He didn't say anything more. But I knew. Everything had changed. The next day, I stood in the stands. For the first time. Not as the assistant. But as someone waiting. Waiting for him. Thatcher stood at the starting block. Focused. Sharp. As always. But when he looked up, his eyes searched for me. Among hundreds of people. And when he found me, he gave a small nod. Just one small nod. But it was enough to warm my heart. The whistle blew. He dove into the water. Fast. Powerful. Precise. As if the water was no longer an obstacle, but an ally. I gripped the railing tightly, following every movement of his. Every lap. Every stroke. Every time he surfaced for air. My heart beat in time with him. And then, he touched the wall first. The sound erupted. Cheers. The coach shouting. Teammates yelling. But I only saw one person. Thatcher. He climbed out of the pool. Water streaming down his body. Breathing hard. Tired. But his eyes searched for me again. Once more. And this time, he smiled. Not for the crowd. Not for the victory. But for me. I smiled back. And in that moment, I knew everything was finally heading in the right direction. I found Thatcher after the competition. It wasn't hard. He was surrounded by teammates, the coach, and enthusiastic pats on the back. First place. A title. His name being called throughout the venue. I should have let him enjoy that moment. But then, his eyes found me again. Among everyone. And this time, he didn't just look. He stepped out of the crowd. Leaving the noise behind. Leaving everything behind. To walk toward me. My heart pounded. You just won, I said when he stopped in front of me. I know. And you left everyone behind to come here? He shrugged. I told you. Told me what? I'm choosing you. One sentence. But this time, it wasn't a promise. It was action. Real. Clear. Undeniable. I looked at him, smiling softly. You're crazy. Only for you. I laughed. And I don't know when. All the distance between us had disappeared. We left the competition venue together.
No ruse. No hiding.
Just simply walking side by side. So what now? I asked. Now? Thatcher glanced at me. Now I officially have no more reason to hide. Sounds dangerous. Very dangerous. I smiled. You still have the state competition. I know. And the scholarship. I know that too. I stopped. Looked at him. Are you sure? He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me. Then, you overcame your fear of water, he said. I think it's my turn. My heart fluttered. What are you afraid of? You. I laughed. That doesn't sound logical. Not afraid of you, he corrected, but afraid of losing you. The air grew quiet, but not heavy, just honest. Then don't, I said softly. I'm trying. Good. A moment of silence. But this time, it was comfortable. In the days that followed, we no longer had to hide. Not completely public, but no longer sneaking around. The teammates started to notice. The glances, the half-joking comments. The captain seems to care about the assistant more than usual, huh? I always care about my team, Thatcher replied without blinking. I shook my head, trying to hide my smile. But the more important thing was that we no longer had to pretend. No more awkward silences. No more avoiding each other. Just being together. That simple. One evening we were at the pool again, like the first time, but everything was different. I stood at the edge of the pool, looking down at the water, no longer afraid, only a familiar slight nervousness. Get in, Thatcher said. I turned to him. Are you sure? He smirked. You've already done it. I took a deep breath, then jumped in. The water enveloped me, cold, but not frightening. I sank down, then pushed myself up, surfaced, took a breath. No panique, no loss of control, just breathing. I did it, I said, smiling. Thatcher stood on the edge, looking at me. His eyes couldn't hide the pride. I knew you would, he replied. Thanks to you. He shook his head. Thanks to you. I swam closer, right to the edge, looked up at him. Come down, I said. He frowned. Why? I want to try something. He looked at me for a moment, then jumped in. Water splashed around us. He moved closer. What? I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. Then, I pulled him toward me and kissed him. This time, there was no fear. No hesitation. Just the two of us, in the water, and everything we had overcome. When we pulled apart, I smiled. That's what I wanted to try. Thatcher smiled faintly. Not bad. Just not bad? All right, he conceded. It was really good. I laughed. I rested my head on his shoulder. The water rippled gently around us. You know, I said, I used to think I would never step into water again. And now, I don't want to leave. He stayed silent. Then, he held me a little tighter. Stay, he said. I will. A moment of silence. But not empty. It was complete. Conrad, Thatcher called. Yeah. He looked at me, his gaze serious, but gentle. I like you. No more care about. No more half-hearted. Just real. I smiled. You finally said it. He shrugged. You forced me. I'll force you more. That sounds scary. You're still here. He looked at me. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then, yeah, he said. I'll always be here. My heart fluttered. Don't promise if you're not sure. I'm not promising, he replied. I'm choosing. Once again, I didn't need anything more. I leaned against him, closed my eyes, listened to the water, felt the rhythm of both our hearts. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of the future. Because I knew, no matter what happened, I had learned how not to sink, and he had learned how not to let go.